Dear child, today, the angels have chosen these cards so that you can understand what is the painful truth your person doesn't want you to hear from someone else, and why are they finally choosing to tell you themselves now. Take a deep breath, dear soul, and as you slowly exhale, allow the quiet burdens you've been carrying to gently lift from your heart. The angels are near, surrounding you in a tender embrace of peace, warmth, and unconditional love. They see beyond the smile you offer the world. They recognize the strength you've held in silence and the light within you that never stops shining, even through your darkest hours. With deep compassion, they honor the resilience that brought you here, the quiet courage it took to keep moving forward. This moment is sacred. It is your invitation to pause, to breathe, and to open your heart to receive. You have always been worthy of love, and now healing is awakening. Peace is drawing close, and the blessings that have long awaited you are finally finding their way into your life. Dear child, the angels are holding you ever so gently right now, for what they wish to reveal through this message is a truth long buried in silence, a truth that your person has held close to their chest in fear, guilt, and deep emotional pain. This truth is not being spoken to hurt you, but because their soul can no longer bear the weight of hiding it. What they haven't wanted you to hear from anyone else, what they hoped could stay in the shadows forever, is the depth of their personal struggle, their sense of failure, and how alone they felt even when they stood beside you. There was a time, dear child, when they felt completely abandoned by life, by people, by themselves, and even by love. They carried within them a cold emptiness, a feeling of not being good enough, not worthy of kindness or connection, and instead of leaning into your warmth, they withdrew into the cold. They didn't tell you how broken they felt inside because they were ashamed of being seen in such a fragile state. And now, the painful truth they are finally ready to share is that their silence, their distance, their absence, it was never because you were not enough, but because they believed they were not enough for you. This card reveals that your person has lived through a chapter of life where everything seemed to fall apart, perhaps emotionally, financially, or spiritually. They may have struggled with insecurity, loss, betrayal, or even mental and emotional heaviness that they didn't know how to express. And instead of reaching for you, instead of asking for help or leaning on your love, they chose silence, believing it was better to disappear than to drag you into their darkness. This is the truth they never wanted you to hear from someone else, that they were not the strong, stable presence you deserved, and they feared that if you ever found out just how low they had sunk, you would look at them with pity, or worse, with disappointment. But dear child, the angels know that your heart is vast and capable of understanding things beyond surface actions. And so your person, guided now by divine nudges and sleepless nights of inner turmoil, is choosing to tell you this truth themselves, because they can no longer live with the divide between what you see and what they truly are inside. They want you to hear it from their own voice, not distorted through someone else's judgment or opinion, because only you can understand the rawness beneath the pain. Type Amen if you trust in angels' guidance. There is a deep emotional wound they carry that made them feel unworthy of your light, your love, your loyalty. They pushed you away, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't believe they had anything left to give. They felt like a burden and convinced themselves that by walking away, by staying silent, they were sparing you the responsibility of trying to save someone who didn't feel they could be saved. But now, dear child, they are realizing that this distance has cost them more than they were prepared to lose. They are beginning to see that the greatest pain was not what they endured in silence, but what they created by keeping you out. And the reason they are ready to speak now, the reason this truth is rising like a tide they can no longer hold back, is because their soul is aching for real connection again. They can no longer pretend, no longer hide behind pride or pain. Their heart wants to be known fully, even in its brokenness. They want to tell you the truth, even if their voice trembles, because somewhere deep inside, they are beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, you won't walk away when you hear it. This confession is not about asking for pity, nor is it an attempt to rewrite the past. It is a longing to be seen without a mask, to be embraced not just in moments of strength, but also in the ruins of vulnerability. The angels are showing that your person is coming to you with their emotional hands open, no longer able to keep pretending that they are fine. They need to be heard, and they trust only you with this part of themselves. And yes, dear one, this may be hard to hear. It may hurt to realize how much they kept from you, how deep their pain went while you were left trying to read between the lines. But the angels urge you to listen, not with the wounded parts of your ego, but with the compassionate wisdom of your soul. Because what your person needs most now is to feel safe in their truth, to feel that they are not alone in it anymore. They are not asking you to fix it, only to witness it, to allow their truth to exist without judgment, and to let them be human in front of you again. They are telling you this now because the time has come to stop living with the ghosts of unspoken pain. This silence has become a prison, not only for them, but for the connection that still flickers between you like a fragile flame. And while they once believed that staying quiet was the noble choice, they now understand that withholding the truth has only kept both of you in emotional limbo. This is their way of choosing courage over fear, of stepping into the light with all their scars exposed, praying that you will still see something worth loving. The angels are whispering that this is a sacred moment of healing, a bridge being built where once there was only distance. And though it may be shaky, though it may feel raw, it is real. They are trusting you now with the part of their story they were most ashamed of, and that trust is the first step toward emotional redemption. So, dear child, take this message with gentleness. Hold it as you would a delicate seed, knowing that even though it carries pain, it also carries the potential for growth and healing. Your person never stopped caring. They simply stopped believing they were worthy of being cared for. And now, as the angels stand beside them, urging them forward, they are offering you the truth. Not dressed in perfect words or heroic gestures, but in the honest ache of their heart. They are saying, "This is who I really am. This is what I never wanted you to know. But I'm telling you, because I trust you, because I need you to see me, because I can't keep hiding from you anymore." And beneath those words, dear child, is the silent prayer that maybe, just maybe, you'll still choose to stand beside them, not because you have to, but because love understands what brokenness forgets. That even in the coldest nights of the soul, we are never truly alone when someone dares to see us fully. The angels are with you now, holding you both and reminding you that this truth, though painful, is a doorway, not an ending. Let your heart decide what comes next. Dear child, the angels wrap you in their loving embrace as they deliver this message. For what your soul is about to hear is a truth that has long lingered in the quiet spaces between words, in the pauses of unanswered questions, in the gentle ache of emotional imbalance that you could feel, even when nothing was ever spoken aloud. Type, I believe, if your heart trusts in God's divine plan and you're ready to move forward with unwavering faith. The person you hold in your heart has been carrying a truth that they never had the courage to tell you, not because they wished to deceive or betray, but because they didn't want you to see the uneven ground on which they built this connection. The truth they never wanted you to hear from someone else is that throughout your journey together, they knew deep down that they were not giving as much as they were receiving. They knew that you were the one carrying the weight, that your energy, your effort, your love, your patience were offered in a way they did not match. And the painful truth, dear one, is that they accepted that love. They soaked in your light, without ever fully showing up with the same consistency and emotional generosity. They feared you would one day realize that imbalance, that you would hear from someone else just how much more you were giving and walk away feeling used or unappreciated. But they are choosing to speak now because they cannot bear the heaviness of silence any longer. They are finally ready to acknowledge in their own words what your heart already sensed, that you deserved more, and they knew it. This is not a message of regret spoken in passing. It is a confession rising from a soul that has watched your quiet strength, your soft resilience, your repeated offerings of love and support, and realized that they took more than they ever truly gave. The angels say your person was not blind to your value. On the contrary, they saw it so clearly that it terrified them. You were the healer, the giver, the one who reached out even when you were hurting. You poured love into their empty places. And instead of meeting you there with open hands, they let you give without stopping to ask how you were doing, what you needed, or how much it cost you to keep showing up. And while they convinced themselves at times that it was enough to simply receive your care, there was always a quiet voice inside them whispering that one day they would have to answer for the imbalance. They would have to face the truth that love is not just about taking, it is about returning, about making sure the scales don't leave one soul drained while the other remains filled. And now, dear child, that day has come. They are choosing to tell you now because they know they cannot outrun the truth anymore. They feel your weariness. They feel the weight you've carried so gracefully. And more than that, they are beginning to realize that real love cannot be built on a foundation of unequal giving. They want you to hear it from them. Not from the echo of your own doubts, not from someone outside the connection, but from the only place it can truly be healed, from the honesty of their own heart. This truth may be painful, not because it is surprising, but because it validates what you tried so hard not to believe. You wanted to think the love was mutual, that the effort was shared, that the unspoken exchange was somehow balanced. And to hear them admit that it wasn't may open old wounds you tried to silence. But the angels ask you to let this truth breathe. Let it come to the surface, not to shame you or to reopen pain, but to finally make space for clarity and perhaps even for healing. Because sometimes the greatest peace comes not from a perfect past, but from the courage it takes to finally speak the words that were long overdue. Your person is not just speaking to confess, they are speaking to change. The angels show that this awakening did not come quickly or easily. It came through nights of reflection, through watching you continue to shine even while carrying the weight of what they could not give. It came through moments of seeing you grow tired, quieter, distant, and finally understanding that love cannot be sustained by one hand alone. They are beginning to see what real partnership looks like, and they are realizing they want to learn how to give in the way you gave. They may not know how to show up perfectly, but their soul is whispering now with a kind of sacred humility, asking you to give them a chance to show up differently. And this is why they are choosing to speak now, because they don't want you to walk away with the story unfinished. They don't want the chapter to end with you believing that your love went unnoticed or unreciprocated. They want to rewrite the pattern, to begin again, not with promises, but with truth. Type grateful if angelic signs and divine blessings have touched your soul and filled your life with light. The angels want you to know, dear child, that you are not wrong for how deeply you loved. You are not foolish for what you gave, for the time, the energy, the emotional investment you offered so freely. Your giving was never wasted. It was never in vain. It planted seeds in their heart that are only now beginning to bloom. And while this truth may feel like a wave crashing over your chest, threatening to drown you in what-ifs and why-nots, the angels urge you to hold on to the deeper truth beneath it all, that your love held a mirror to their soul, and in that reflection, they are finally seeing who they were and who they still hope to become. This moment, painful as it is the beginning of honesty. It is the moment when silence ends, when imbalance is named, and when something sacred can finally be restored. So allow yourself to receive this truth with grace. Let your heart grieve the moments that were not fair, the days when your giving felt endless and unrewarded. Let yourself feel the sting, because even in that ache is a release, a cleansing, a softening. And once the pain begins to pass, you may find something beautiful waiting beneath it. A new beginning that starts with honesty, with equal steps, with real understanding. Whether you choose to continue with this person or not, know that the scales are being brought into balance now, not just in words, but in soul. The angels are guiding this moment with great care, knowing how delicate your heart has become, how much strength it took to keep giving even when you were tired. They are whispering now, you were always enough. You gave more than most would. And now you are being given truth, not as a punishment, but as a gift. Receive it, dear child, and let your own heart decide what comes next. You are worthy of love that gives back to you just as fully as you have given. And now, at last, the healing begins. Dear child, the angels come to you now with hearts full of tenderness and compassion, because they know that the message unfolding before you carries weight, truth, and the kind of emotional intensity that can only be met with love. The person who holds a special space in your heart has been carrying a truth they have avoided telling you, not out of malice or manipulation, but out of deep-rooted fear. The painful truth they never wanted you to hear from someone else is that they have always felt that you were more grounded, more capable, more self-assured, more nurturing than they ever were. They have placed you on a pedestal in their mind, not as a way of praising you in love, but as a way of highlighting their own inner feelings of inadequacy. The truth they've hidden is that your strength, your consistency, your nurturing spirit, and your ability to hold things together when life was falling apart made them feel small in comparison. And they were afraid that one day you would see it too, that you would realize you were giving more, supporting more, and showing up in ways they simply didn't know how to reciprocate. This person has admired you in silence for a long time. They have watched you carry responsibilities with grace, offer love without expectation, and keep things steady when everything around you was shifting. But instead of allowing that admiration to inspire them, it sometimes deepened their inner wounds. The angels say that this is a soul who has long struggled with their own sense of self-worth, someone who learned from a very young age that love had to be earned, that stability was a distant dream, and that vulnerability was dangerous. And so, when they met you, when they saw how naturally you poured love into everything you touched, how your energy grounded them when they were scattered, it both healed and terrified them. They feared becoming dependent on your strength. They feared being exposed as someone who didn't have their life together. And most of all, they feared the day you would realize the unevenness of the emotional exchange and leave them behind. They didn't want you to hear from anyone else that they saw you as the foundation they didn't know how to stand on their own. They didn't want you to know that while you were offering them shelter, they were emotionally hiding. But dear child, the angels show that this truth is rising now, because your person can no longer live in the gap between how they've been seen and how they truly feel inside. Type, "Blessed if you feel the gentle presence of angels lovingly guiding your every step with care and wisdom. They are choosing to tell you this themselves because they want to be honest at last about the fears that have held them back, the shame that made them shrink, and the reverence they've always felt for your quiet power. They are not revealing this to gain your sympathy or to be rescued. They are telling you because they want to stop pretending. They want to step out of the shadow of your strength and learn to stand beside you, not as someone lesser, but as someone who is finally ready to grow. This confession is hard for them, not because they think you will judge them, but because it requires them to be seen in their most fragile truth. For so long, they played a role to keep up, to seem composed, to match your energy when inside they felt uncertain and overwhelmed. They didn't know how to ask for what they needed. They didn't want to burden you with their doubts, and so they wore a mask of self-sufficiency while relying on you emotionally more than they ever admitted. But now, the mask is cracking. The time has come for truth to rise to the surface. And the reason they're choosing to speak now, dear child, is because the love they feel for you has become greater than the fear of being seen. They want to be real with you. They want to be emotionally naked, even if that means admitting their weaknesses. Because only through truth can the connection evolve into something truly equal, something truly reciprocal. They have watched you create beauty in the mundane, offer comfort without needing attention, and remain devoted even when their actions didn't reflect the depth of your love. And they know now that the weight of the connection should never have rested solely on your shoulders. The angels say they are beginning to understand that true partnership means more than just taking from a nurturer. It means learning to nurture in return. They are not there yet, but they want to be. They want to learn how to offer you the kind of love you give so freely, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude and growth. And though this moment of truth may be painful, may make you question why they waited so long to be honest, it is also sacred. Because this is the first time they are offering you not a version of themselves, but the truth of their soul. The angels urge you to receive this message not with the bitterness of unmet expectations, but with the grace of someone who has always known there was more to the story. You are not being asked to forget the ways you carried the emotional weight, but to recognize that the one you love is finally trying to lift their side, that they are no longer content with letting you lead alone, that they are waking up to the imbalance, not because someone pointed it out, but because their heart, with divine guidance, has finally found the courage to be vulnerable. They are saying, I see now what I did not see before. I see you. I see how much you gave, and I want to learn how to give it back. This is not a perfect promise, but it is a powerful start. It is a seed of healing being planted in truth. So, dear child, know that your love has not gone unnoticed. Know that your patience, your quiet wisdom, your endless nurturing has shaped someone's healing, even when it felt like nothing was changing. And now, with divine timing, the transformation begins. Let this truth break the silence. Let it soften the resentment. Let it create space for a new foundation to be built. One where both hearts are nourished, one where giving and receiving flow in balance. The angels are watching over this moment with sacred care, whispering to your heart that love is still alive here, and it is now stepping into its next chapter. Whether you choose to walk forward with this person or not, this truth will set you free, because it was never your job to carry everything alone. And now, finally, you won't have to. Dear child, the angels step forward now, not with light hearts, but with profound understanding and compassion. For the truth they carry in this moment has long been hidden beneath shadows, and what is ready to be revealed is something that may pierce through your spirit in ways you did not expect. Yet it must come to the surface now, because you deserve to know, and because the one you love can no longer bear the burden of pretending. Type, strong, if you honor the quiet strength within, the courage that carried you through even your darkest hours. The painful truth they never wanted you to hear from someone else, the truth they hid behind smiles and silence, is that they were not always honest with you. Not just in words, but in energy, in intentions, in actions that unfolded behind closed doors or within the silence of their own inner conflict. They have deceived you, not necessarily with cruel intent, but in ways that were driven by fear, insecurity, and the misguided belief that if they told you everything, you would walk away. They chose avoidance over honesty, secrecy over transparency, and now, as the weight of that dishonesty grows heavier in their heart, they know they must come forward and speak their truth. Not to escape the consequences, but to finally bring light to the parts of themselves they tried to keep hidden from you. What they are about to reveal is not easy, dear child. They have wrestled with it for nights, trying to find a version of the truth that would be easier to say, softer to hear. But the soul does not heal through half-truths, and they are beginning to understand that. They want to tell you now in their own voice before you hear it from someone else, because hearing it from another would wound you more deeply, and they care too much to let that happen. They know you have given them trust, and they know that somewhere within you sense the cracks forming, even if you didn't have the proof. Your intuition felt the energy shift, the avoidance, the subtle withdrawal, and yet you stayed, you loved, you believed. And that is what breaks their heart now, that you were the one who deserved full truth, and yet you were the one kept in the dark. The angels say your person's dishonesty may not have been dramatic or loud, but it was enough to create emotional distance, enough to cause you to question your own worth when things no longer added up. Whether it was hiding past mistakes, pretending to be ready when they weren't, not disclosing their true intentions, or omitting truths about people or feelings or choices, what matters now is that they are finally willing to face what they once ran from. They are choosing to speak now because the silence has become a prison. Every moment of withholding has chipped away at the integrity of your bond, and they can feel it slipping. They are not telling you this to erase the past, but because they are tired of wearing a mask. The person they pretended to be, the one who had it all figured out, the one who didn't make mistakes, the one who always said the right thing, that person is a facade they no longer have the strength to maintain. They want you to see the real version of them, even if it's flawed, even if it hurts, even if it means the way you see them changes forever. Because there is still love here, dear child, and it is that love that pushes them to reveal what they once vowed to hide. They know you deserve better than carefully curated half-truths. You deserve vulnerability. You deserve to choose with full clarity whether this is something your heart can still hold. And so, with trembling hands and a voice heavy with regret, they are coming forward now. The angels want you to know that this is a sacred and painful threshold. The deception may have hurt you, but what is being offered in this moment is not just a confession. It is an invitation. An invitation to finally look at this connection without illusions, to decide from a place of truth whether love can survive after the light has exposed the dark corners. It is an opportunity for real intimacy, the kind that only arises when two souls have nothing left to hide. And while it may feel like betrayal at first, what lies beneath this confession is something rare. A soul that is learning to confront its own shadows, that is trying to grow, even if too late. Whether you choose to forgive or walk away, this moment will mark a turning point. You will no longer be in the dark. You will no longer wonder what was real and what wasn't. And there is power in that knowing, even if it comes wrapped in pain. This person may speak of things they did when they were scared, of people they kept in their life out of habit or unresolved emotions, of the fears that made them pretend to be someone more put together than they truly were. They may admit to choices that contradicted their promises, to words spoken that they never truly embodied, to gaps between their actions and their intentions. And it will be hard to hear, dear child, but it will also be the most honest thing they have ever given you. Type guided. If you feel embraced by divine light, walking in harmony with a higher realm that holds you close, you will see them not as the idealized version you once held, but as a human, messy, flawed, confused, but real. And that reality, though painful, can be the foundation of something much stronger. should you choose to stay. Or it may be the release you needed to finally let go, knowing that what you were holding on to was never the full picture. Either way, you will walk forward with clarity, and the angels will walk with you every step. They are pouring love into your heart right now, for they know how difficult it is to hear that the one you trusted was not always truthful. But they are also proud of you, dear one. Proud of the way you've carried yourself through uncertainty, the way you've continued to love even without guarantees, the way you've trusted your intuition even when it made no sense. And now, that intuition is being validated. The truth is surfacing not to break you, but to free you. The person you love is finally learning that they cannot build something sacred on secrecy, that love without truth is only an illusion. And you, beloved child, deserve more than illusion. You deserve honesty, even if it shakes the ground beneath your feet. So listen closely, not just with your ears, but with your soul. Hear their words, feel their remorse. Let your heart speak its truth in return. You do not have to decide anything now. Just let the truth breathe. Let it settle. Let it transform what it must. The angels are wrapping you in comfort, reminding you that no truth can take away your worth. No confession can undo the light you bring into this world. You are love. You are truth. And whatever happens next, you will rise stronger, clearer, and more whole than ever before. Dear child, the angels draw near to you with urgency wrapped in gentleness, for what is ready to be spoken now is a truth that has waited in silence far too long, and its arrival will come not in small steps, but all at once, like a sudden rush of wind that knocks the breath from your lungs. The truth your person didn't want you to hear from anyone else is that they've held back not only what they feel, but the depth, the intensity, and the speed with which their heart has shifted in your direction. They never meant to run from the connection, but they did. They never intended to keep you waiting, but they allowed delays, silence, distractions, and pride to steal time from a love that was always meant to move forward. The painful truth is that they felt everything all at once, but became afraid of what it meant, afraid of what it would require of them. And now they know someone else may be ready to say what they haven't had the courage to, and they cannot bear the thought of you hearing from another soul that they've been holding back when they should have been running toward you. They are finally choosing to tell you now, because something has shifted within them. A storm of realizations crashing down at once, showing them everything they risk losing by staying silent. They feel time catching up, feel your energy slowly beginning to detach, feel your heart stepping back not out of anger, but out of quiet exhaustion. The angels whisper that this person is coming to you with a heart full of words they once couldn't form. The silence that lingered between you, the spaces where you once longed to hear from them, the messages left unsent, the clarity they never offered. All of it is pouring forward now like water behind a broken dam. And it may be overwhelming, dear child, not because it is unfamiliar, but because it is everything you've longed to hear, all arriving at once. The very thing you used to pray for in the stillness of your aching nights is now preparing to find you. And though your heart once begged for this moment, you may now find yourself unsure of how to hold it all. Your person is finally seeing how fast life can change. They are waking up from the fog of their own distractions, seeing how easily someone else could step in and give you what they did not. And this realization has broken through their hesitation like lightning. The angels show that what held them back wasn't a lack of love, but a fear of moving too fast, of not having the right words, of being vulnerable before they were ready. But now that fear has been eclipsed by something greater, a deep soul-level knowing that their time is running out. And so, in this moment of urgency, they are preparing to say what should have been said long ago. Type faith. If you trust that God is leading you step by step with love toward your highest good, you may find them coming to you not gradually, not cautiously, but all at once, with fast words, honest emotions, and perhaps even tears. They no longer want to take things slow. They no longer want to wait for the right moment. They want to tell you now, before someone else does, before life creates more distance, before your heart closes forever to the version of them that has finally awakened. What they want to confess may feel sudden to you, but it has been building inside them for far longer than they've shown. They are choosing to speak now because the pain of withholding has become greater than the fear of rejection. They know they've sent you mixed signals, know they've left you confused, wondering where you stand, questioning whether the feelings were real. And they are finally ready to admit that they kept everything moving too slowly on the surface while underneath the current of love was always strong and unstoppable. They want to say it all now, to explain, to express, to reveal everything their soul has been screaming in silence. They want to tell you that they do care, that they never stop, that they've been watching, waiting, trying to find the courage to reach you before it's too late. And they want you to know that every delay was not a reflection of their love, but of their fear of how deeply that love ran. The angels urge you to prepare your heart, not because what is coming will hurt you, but because it will flood you with everything you've been waiting to hear. And that kind of emotional overwhelm can be just as tender, just as vulnerable, as heartbreak. This is not a game. This is not manipulation. This is a soul that has realized that silence costs more than vulnerability ever could. They may speak of moments when they wanted to reach out but didn't, when they rehearsed their words 1,000 times but deleted the message before sending. They may admit to watching you from afar, knowing you deserve better, but feeling paralyzed by their own insecurities. And now, the love that once felt like a gentle hum has grown too loud to ignore. They are choosing to tell you before someone else steps in and says the things they always meant to say. Because the truth is, dear child, they never wanted to lose you, but their silence has risked just that. So when this message arrives, whether through a conversation, a letter, a sudden call, or a message at an unexpected hour, know that it is not coming from a place of impulse, but from a soul finally awakened to what matters most. Let your heart stay open, not because you owe them anything, but because this truth belongs to you, and it deserves to be heard from the source. The angels are holding space around you now, preparing your energy to receive not just the words, but the emotion behind them. They want you to know that this moment is divinely timed, that everything is aligning now because you are ready, and they are finally brave enough to give you what they always should have. The words will come quickly. The confessions may feel like a flood, but within them is the truth you've always known but needed to hear. And in that truth, dear child, may you find the power to decide what love looks like for you moving forward. Whether you choose to embrace what is being offered or to close the chapter with clarity and peace, know that the angels are guiding every beat of your heart and every breath you take. They are proud of your grace, your patience, and the way you have carried yourself through confusion without losing your capacity for love. And now, finally, the silence is breaking. The truth is coming, and you will be met with the words your soul has waited for. Dear child, the angels are wrapping their wings tightly around you right now, because what is coming to light through this truth is something that has been buried beneath layers of fear, silence, and emotional paralysis for far too long. Your person, the one who has drifted in and out of emotional availability, the one whose love has felt uncertain and trapped behind unspoken barriers, has finally reached the point where they cannot stay silent anymore. The painful truth they didn't want you to hear from someone else is this: they have felt stuck, trapped, and powerless within their own mind for so long that they have unintentionally hurt you by simply standing still. They have lived inside a cage made of their own fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs, and while they might have looked calm on the outside, inside they were drowning in overthinking, shame, and guilt. Type protected. If you've ever felt the comforting presence of angels offering peace, signs, or sacred reassurance, they never wanted you to know how truly helpless they've felt, how much they've allowed fear to control their choices, and how their inability to move forward in this connection had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with the war inside their own mind. They feared if you ever found out the truth, you would see them as weak, as broken, or worse, as someone who simply didn't care. But dear child, that was never the case. They cared deeply. They just didn't know how to break free from the prison they had created within themselves. They are choosing to speak now because the weight of silence has become heavier than the fear of vulnerability. They have watched you, loved you, and yet failed to show up in the ways your heart needed because they have been paralyzed by doubts and emotional scars that they were too ashamed to reveal. Their silence was not a lack of feeling, but a symptom of deep inner conflict. They didn't want you to hear from someone else that their absence, their delays, their indecision was never about you not being enough. It was about them not feeling worthy of being loved by someone like you. They wore a mask of indifference, not because they didn't care, but because they were afraid of being seen in their rawest, most vulnerable truth. They feared you would see how broken they felt, how little control they had over their own spiraling thoughts, and how often they stood frozen in the face of love because love required them to heal, to grow, to face parts of themselves they had long avoided. And now, the time has come when they can no longer hide behind the excuses. The love they feel for you, the regret that lingers in their chest, and the silent prayers they've whispered for another chance have all collided into this one truth. You deserve to know the truth from their lips, not from whispers or half-told stories. The angels show that this soul has felt trapped not by you, but by the lies they've told themselves. That they are not good enough, that love always ends in pain, that vulnerability leads to abandonment. These beliefs have created a mental prison that has kept them distant, emotionally unavailable, and unable to move forward. They've seen you reaching out with compassion, holding space for them with patience, offering light to their darkness, and still they turned away. Not because they wanted to hurt you, but because they didn't know how to receive what you were offering. They didn't trust it. They didn't trust themselves. And the pain they carry now is the realization that in trying to protect themselves from being hurt, they ended up hurting the one person who tried to love them purely. That pain is finally louder than their fear, and that is why they are ready to speak now. They would rather be seen in their wounded truth than continue watching you slowly detach, wondering what you did wrong when it was never your fault at all. This message, dear child, is one of release. They are hoping that by telling you the truth, by letting you into the mental and emotional storm they've hidden behind, you will finally understand why things unfolded the way they did. They are not looking for sympathy, and they are not asking you to fix them. They just want to be honest. They want to say, I was stuck, and I didn't know how to get out. I kept telling myself stories about why I couldn't show up, and those stories became my reality. But now I see how much damage that silence caused, and I don't want to live like that anymore. The angels are helping them break these mental chains, helping them find the words they never could before. And while they may not have all the answers, while they may still be learning how to free themselves fully, they know one thing with certainty. You deserve to hear the truth from their heart, because it is only the truth that can begin to heal what has been broken. The shock for you may come not from what they say, but from how clearly it will align with what your intuition has been sensing all along. The delayed responses, the mixed signals, the emotional walls, it all makes sense now, not as rejection, but as inner turmoil. The angels are gently asking you to listen, not with the wounded parts of yourself, but with the soul that always knew there was more beneath the silence. Because while their truth may carry pain, it also carries love. Love that was never expressed the way you deserved. Love that stayed locked behind fear, but love that was real nonetheless. Type blessings. If you sense the universe aligning in your favor, surrounding your path with grace and abundance. Whether you choose to move forward with them or not, this truth will set you both free from the guilt, the confusion, the unanswered questions. It will mark the end of pretending and the beginning of healing. So breathe, dear child. Open your heart, not because you owe them your forgiveness, but because you owe yourself the peace of knowing you were never the problem. You were always enough. Your love was always pure. And now, as this truth comes to light, you will feel the burdens lift, not all at once, but in waves of understanding, of clarity, of release. The angels are so proud of how you have carried this silent pain with grace, how you chose love even in uncertainty, and how you are now standing in the light of your own worth. They are with you as you hear these words, guiding your heart to stay soft yet strong, reminding you that this truth is a blessing, even if it comes wrapped in sorrow. Because through this truth, a new path opens. Whether that path leads back to one another or away with mutual respect, it will lead to freedom. And freedom, dear child, is where healing truly begins. Dear child, the angels are standing so very close to you right now, their wings curved softly around your tender heart, for they know that what is about to be revealed is not easy to hear, but it is a truth that has waited quietly in the shadows for far too long. Your person, the one your soul has reached for in silence, the one whose distance and silence have pierced you deeper than words ever could, is finally preparing to speak a truth they never wanted you to hear from anyone else. This truth, dear one, is heavy, and it is soaked in regret. The painful truth is that at some point on your shared journey, they gave up, not necessarily on you, but on themselves, on the hope they could be the person you needed, on the belief that they could hold the weight of this love without breaking beneath the pressure of their own internal battles. They hit a breaking point, one they never showed you, because they didn't want to bring you down with them. But in that choice to suffer alone, they left you feeling abandoned, betrayed, or even unworthy of an explanation. And now, as they watch you from a distance, perhaps still carrying unanswered questions and silent wounds, they can no longer stand the idea that someone else might tell you what they should have had the courage to say themselves, that they broke, that they fell apart, and that their silence wasn't a reflection of your value, but of their own collapse. They didn't want you to know that they were at their lowest, that everything inside them felt shattered, that their world had turned to a quiet devastation they didn't know how to survive. They kept it hidden with pride, with false smiles, with the disappearing acts that made you question what you did wrong. But the truth is, dear child, you did nothing wrong. The end you felt wasn't caused by your actions or your love. It was caused by their inability to carry their own pain any longer. And instead of turning to you, instead of trusting your love to hold space for their brokenness, they turned away. This moment of emotional death within them, this internal surrender to despair, hopelessness, or defeat, is what they are finally ready to speak about. They want to tell you before someone else does, before you hear from others that they were falling apart when they left, that they were grieving something they never had the words to explain. They are ready to face you not with defenses, but with raw, unfiltered honesty, because their soul aches for closure, and even more than that, it aches for forgiveness, not just from you, but from themselves. This person may come to you now with trembling vulnerability, confessing that their withdrawal was not indifference, but the result of hitting emotional rock bottom. They may speak of depression, anxiety, loss, or the unbearable weight of past traumas that finally caught up with them. They may admit that they walked away not because they didn't love you, but because they didn't love themselves. And in the silence that followed, they realized that avoiding the truth only deepened the wound. They see now how their ending hurt you, how their sudden absence left you questioning your worth, and that realization is something they can no longer live with. The angels show that they have replayed those final moments over and over in their mind, and the pain of knowing they left you in confusion, in heartbreak, in silence, is what has pushed them to finally speak now. Because no matter how hard it is to say, no matter how shattered they feel inside, they would rather face the pain of truth than let you believe it was your fault. Type surrender if you're ready to release your burdens and trust the divine timing of your sacred journey. They know they cannot undo what was done. They cannot rewrite the chapters where you were left waiting, hoping, aching for answers. But they are hoping that in finally speaking the truth, they can at least bring you the peace of knowing that their ending had nothing to do with your light. In fact, your light was the only thing that gave them comfort when everything else was dark. And it is that memory of your love, your patience, your compassion that is calling them back now, asking them to rise one last time and speak the words that have been locked behind their silence. I was broken, and I didn't know how to let you see me that way. They want you to know that they were drowning, that they felt like a burden, that they believed disappearing would spare you the pain of watching them fall. But in doing so, they now understand that they caused a different kind of pain, one that was more cruel than they ever intended. They chose to end things silently, thinking it was the kindest thing they could do, but they now know the kindest thing would have been to trust you with their truth. The angels urge you to receive this truth with your heart open, not because it erases the past, but because it offers a new lens through which to see it. They want you to see that sometimes the ones we love the most are fighting battles we can't see, and that love, even when it's real, can be lost beneath the rubble of internal wars. Your person is not coming to you now expecting reconciliation or romance. They are coming because they want you to know that you didn't deserve the silence, the confusion, the cold goodbye. They want you to know that you were the only safe place they had, and they couldn't even bring themselves to enter it. They are hoping that in offering you the truth now, late as it may be, they can release the guilt that has haunted them and finally give you the closure that silence stole from you. And you, dear child, have every right to feel the emotions this truth brings. Let yourself cry. Let yourself grieve the version of events you held on to. Let the waves of shock, sadness, and maybe even relief wash over you. Because in this truth, there is pain, yes, but there is also freedom. Freedom from wondering if you were too much or not enough. Freedom from carrying someone else's unspoken burdens. Freedom from a story that never had a proper ending. And in that freedom, you are reborn. You rise. You reclaim your heart not as a broken thing, but as a sacred vessel that loved someone through their darkest hour, even when they couldn't see it. The angels are so proud of you, beloved child, so deeply in awe of your capacity to love, your willingness to listen, your strength in staying soft through sorrow. They are with you as this truth finds its way to your ears and your heart. They are holding your hand as you take it in, and they are whispering to you even now. You were always the light. You were never the cause of the ending. And now, you are free. Let this truth mark the closing of a chapter that never had closure. Let it be the final page of a story that taught you how deeply you can feel, how fully you can love, and how gracefully you can heal. Because the ending you never received is now being rewritten with truth. And from this place of honesty, dear child, you can finally begin again. Dear child, the angels come forward now with deep reverence in their gaze and warmth overflowing from their hearts, for what they are about to reveal through this message is not just a truth, but a long-held confession resting heavily on the soul of the one who has loved you silently, maturely, and painfully from the depths of their heart. The painful truth your person never wanted you to hear from someone else is that they have been carrying a storm of emotions within them, hiding the enormity of their love behind a calm exterior, bottling up the waves of vulnerability they never allowed to reach you because they believed it was their responsibility to protect you from the intensity of what they felt. They didn't want you to hear from someone else that they have loved you deeply for a very long time, in a quiet, stable, unwavering way, and yet chose to remain emotionally restrained not because they didn't want to be close, but because they didn't trust themselves to hold your heart in the way you truly deserve. They wore a mask of emotional control, of stoicism, of "I'm fine," all while drowning in unspoken feelings and unexpressed needs, fearing that if they let it all pour out, it would overwhelm you, or worse, lead to rejection they couldn't bear to face. Type light if your soul is deeply connected to healing, truth, and the infinite love that surrounds you always. This person has loved you with the kind of depth that doesn't shout or chase, but instead watches from a distance, supports in silence, and suffers behind the shield of maturity. They are the kind of soul who suppresses their pain, believing that true strength is about not burdening the ones you love with the weight of your emotions. But dear child, this very belief has kept them from fully showing up in the connection. They have cried when you couldn't see, longed for you when they pretended to be indifferent, and held back every urge to reach out because they convinced themselves it was better to remain composed than to risk being seen in their emotional vulnerability. And now they are choosing to speak, not because they've suddenly found the courage to express themselves, but because they know the truth is on the verge of escaping through someone else's mouth. Someone who may not carry their intentions, someone who may speak in a way that distorts what they feel. And they cannot bear for you to receive their truth in fragments through rumors or hearsay or assumptions. They want to be the one to tell you from the center of their own trembling heart that they have loved you in silence and that silence has now become unbearable. The angels say this person has struggled for years, perhaps even across lifetimes, with emotional restraint. They have been taught by life or lineage or heartbreak that feelings should be managed, contained, respected, but rarely revealed. They've always tried to be the emotionally intelligent one, the stable presence, the calm anchor in a sea of chaos. But in trying to be strong, they have denied themselves the sweetness of emotional honesty. And now they realize that in hiding their feelings, they have not only cheated themselves out of true connection, but have also left you feeling unloved, unchosen, or emotionally abandoned. This realization is what is bringing them to their knees internally. They are not coming to you with a flood of drama or romantic declarations. They are coming with a heavy heart, with humility, with tears they never allowed themselves to cry before. They are ready to say, "I love you, and I always have. I was just too afraid to show you how much." The pain in their confession is not just about the emotions they suppressed, but also about the times they failed to show up when your heart was open and needing them most. They know you reached out. They know you tried, and they know their silence may have made you question your own worth. But dear child, the angels want you to understand, this was never about your worth. This was about their wound. A wound that said, if I open up, I will lose control. If I show my heart, it will be broken. And now, after all this time, they are choosing to speak because love, in its truest form, cannot be kept silent forever. It will find its voice, even if it trembles, even if it's too late, even if the damage feels irreversible. Because love, when it is real, refuses to be buried. They may not come with a plan. They may not even know what to expect after telling you all of this. But they know they must speak, because keeping this truth inside any longer would be the greatest betrayal of all, to themselves, to you, and to the love that once breathed between your souls like sacred fire. They may tell you about the nights they stayed awake, replaying every moment in their mind, wondering what could have been if they had just said something sooner. They may speak of the guilt, the shame, the longing that built quietly behind every word they didn't say. And you, dear child, may find your heart shattering open in ways you weren't prepared for, not just from the weight of the truth, but from the ache of how long it was kept from you. The angels want you to know that this is not just about receiving an apology. This is about witnessing someone finally standing in their emotional truth, about watching the walls around a guarded heart begin to crumble, not with force, but with the softest surrender. This is your moment to receive the truth, not with blame, but with clarity. To let it reach the parts of you that have waited, wept, and wondered. To allow the tears to fall, not from heartbreak, but from the sweet and sorrowful recognition of a love that was always there, just hidden behind layers of fear and emotional discipline. Whether you choose to embrace them again or let them go, this truth will bring closure and healing that your heart has long needed. You will no longer question whether they felt it too. Type, "I believe," if your heart trusts in God's divine plan and you're ready to move forward with unwavering faith. You will no longer carry the weight of wondering if you were hard to love, because in their words, in their eyes, in their long overdue confession, you will see the truth. You were always loved, deeply, silently, reverently, and now, finally, that love is finding its voice. The angels are holding space around this conversation, guiding every word, softening every edge, protecting both of your hearts as you walk through this emotional threshold. They are so proud of you for being open, for being strong, for being willing to hear the truth even when it comes late. And they are proud of your person too for finally choosing vulnerability over silence, truth over fear, and love over pride. Let this be a moment of awakening, of emotional justice, of sacred release. Because no matter what happens next, this truth will mark the end of misunderstanding and the beginning of peace. And in that peace, dear child, your heart will find room to breathe again, knowing that love was never absent. It was just hidden, waiting for the day it could be spoken with trembling lips and a soul finally ready to be seen. Dear child, the angels surround you now with steady, grounding energy, for they know the weight of the truth that is about to be placed gently in your hands. This is not a chaotic storm of emotion, nor is it a confession that will rattle your world with sudden intensity. Rather, it is a slow, aching truth that has been growing like roots beneath the surface. Truth that your person has carried for a long time, almost too long, and is finally ready to bring into the light. The painful truth they didn't want you to hear from anyone else is that their silence, their distance, their emotional delays, and their lack of visible effort were never a reflection of not caring, but a result of moving through life in a way that made them too cautious, too slow, and at times too focused on duty over desire. They didn't want you to discover from someone else that while you were waiting for them to show up emotionally, to meet you in the full presence of love, they were lost in trying to build something for the future, so focused on long-term stability that they missed the urgency of your heart in the present moment. And now, after everything, they are coming forward because they realize that love delayed too long begins to feel like love denied. They don't want you to carry the belief that they didn't love you enough to move faster, to commit sooner, or to be more expressive. The truth is, they loved you all along. But they didn't know how to love you in your language, in your timing, in the rhythm of your spirit's pace. Your person is the kind of soul who does not act on impulse. They are slow to trust, careful with emotion, often lost in the practical side of life where feelings are quietly placed second to responsibility, consistency, and long-term planning. But in that slow, careful movement, they left you waiting, dear child. They left you questioning. They left you wondering if the connection you felt was real at all. And the pain that now lives in their heart is the realization that while they were planning to love you forever, they forgot to show up in the now. They believed they had more time. They believed you would wait until everything was perfect. They thought they could build the life first and bring you into it later. But now they see that the cost of waiting too long is sometimes the very love they thought they were preserving. The angels say this realization has come to them gradually, through dreams, through small moments of longing, through the haunting weight of your absence. And as they began to reflect, they saw how their silence, their delays, their overly cautious heart caused damage they never intended. They are choosing to tell you now because they have heard whispers, energetic or literal, that someone else may be stepping in, someone more willing to meet you here now without delay. They know someone else might offer you the emotional warmth they withheld. And though it breaks them to imagine you with another, what breaks them more is the thought of you believing they never cared. Because, dear child, they cared so deeply, but they loved you in the only way they knew how. Slowly, quietly, consistently from behind the scenes. They remembered every detail about you. They thought about your needs and dreams. They planned a life with you in their mind. But they didn't say it. They didn't show it. And love not expressed becomes love unrecognized. That is the truth that now weighs heavy in their soul. And they are ready, perhaps for the first time in their life, to say, I should have told you sooner. I should have done more. I thought I was protecting this by waiting, but I was only letting you slip further away. Type blessed if you feel the gentle presence of angels lovingly guiding your every step with care and wisdom. The angels want you to understand the depth of this person's regret is not dramatic or loud. It is steady and constant, like the ache of something unfinished, like the quiet grief of realizing time has passed and moments can't be retrieved. They want to offer you truth now, not because they expect you to take them back or because they are suddenly transformed, but because they finally understand that without truth, you can't heal, and neither can they. They want to tell you themselves before someone else tells you that they waited too long, that they missed their chance, that you were left alone with questions you never deserved. They are hoping their words will reach your heart, not to manipulate, not to convince, but to finally be transparent about the emotional wall they stood behind while you stood in front of them, offering open-hearted love. And you, dear child, are being asked to receive this truth with grace, not because it erases the pain of waiting, but because it allows you to see that your worth was never in question. You were always enough. You were always ready. You were always waiting for someone who thought love needed more time, when all it needed was presence. This truth may stir up emotions within you. Grief for the time lost, sadness for the words unsaid, anger for the delays that dimmed your hope, but it will also bring peace. Because now you'll know that it was never about you being too much or too little. It was about someone who loved you deeply, but let fear and caution lead them where only the heart should have. Let your tears fall if they need to. Let your heart feel all that rises. But also, let this be the truth that brings closure to your confusion. Whether you open the door to them again or simply walk forward lighter and wiser, this truth will ground you in the knowing that you were always loved, just not always the way you needed. The angels are proud of your patience, of your open-heartedness, of the way you loved someone who was still learning how to love themselves and others in a way that felt emotionally safe. They see how long you waited, and they also see how ready you now are to receive love in its most present embodied form. This moment is not the end, dear child. It is the breaking of silence. It is the planting of a seed, not necessarily of reconciliation, but of understanding. And from that understanding, something beautiful will grow. Whether it's a new chapter with this person, built on truth and shared pace, or a future that frees you for something more aligned, you will walk forward with clarity, no longer questioning your value. You are worthy of love that meets you here, not just in some distant imagined future. And now, with this truth, you can finally let go of the waiting and begin to live fully in your own timing. The angels are with you, holding your hand, blessing your path, and whispering, "You have always deserved love that moves with you, not behind you. And now, that love is coming." Dear child, the angels step close now with eyes full of the most tender understanding, their presence gentle and warm, because the truth that is rising from this moment is not one wrapped in betrayal or harshness, but in a deep, nostalgic ache, an ache of what was, of what never fully became, and of what has lingered in the hidden corners of your heart and your person's soul for far too long. The painful truth your person didn't want you to hear from someone else is that they have never truly moved on from the bond they shared with you, even if it appeared they had. Even if time, distance, or silence created the illusion of detachment. What they never told you, what they kept locked within the sanctuary of memory, is that you still live in their heart as vividly as the day your souls first touched. They didn't want you to discover through someone else that they still think about you constantly, that your name echoes in their mind in quiet moments, that there are songs, places, even scents that instantly bring them back to you. They didn't want you to know how often they revisit the past, not because they're stuck, but because those memories are where they still find pieces of themselves they've never been able to recover since losing you. They are choosing to tell you this truth now because the weight of it has become too much to carry alone. For so long, they believed they were doing the right thing by staying silent, by letting time and circumstance do the work of healing. But all that time did was deepen their longing, not erase it. Type, guided, if you feel embraced by divine light, walking in harmony with a higher realm that holds you close. They thought they could outrun the past, distract themselves with responsibilities or new faces, or even convincing themselves that it was just a fleeting chapter, a sweet but distant memory. But the truth, dear child, is that nothing has ever matched the innocence, the purity, the emotional honesty of what they shared with you. They have compared every connection since to the one they had with you, and no one has ever come close. And it hurts them more than they let on, not just because they miss you, but because they know that when you gave your love, you gave it fully, openly, without conditions. And they now see that they didn't fully recognize what they had until it was already slipping through their fingers. The angels say, "This is a soul who carries deep emotional imprints, someone who might have seemed emotionally distant at times, yet who feels everything deeply but doesn't always know how to express it. When they were with you, they felt a sense of home, a sense of comfort and belonging that they had never experienced before, perhaps not even in their own childhood. You gave them warmth, gentleness, and emotional safety, and instead of embracing it, they didn't know what to do with it. They tried to keep things light, or they pulled away when the emotions got too real, not because they didn't care, but because it scared them to be seen so completely. And when they finally walked away, or drifted, or stayed silent, they told themselves that they were protecting you or themselves, when in truth they were abandoning a part of their own heart too. They have carried that regret like a shadow ever since, pretending to be fine, pretending to move on, but always secretly hoping for one more chance to return to what felt like home. They're choosing to tell you this now because something in the universe has awakened their soul to the urgency of the moment. Maybe it was a dream, or a chance encounter, or the realization that you might soon find happiness with someone else. But something has shifted, and now they understand that if they don't speak their truth, they may lose the chance to ever be real with you again. And they don't want that. They would rather risk being vulnerable, risk looking foolish, risk reopening old wounds than live with the silence any longer. They want you to hear it from them, that they miss you more than they ever said, that they remember the smallest details of your time together, that they still replay your laughter in their mind. They want to tell you that they've grown, that they've matured emotionally, that they've come to understand the value of what you offered them when their heart was still learning how to receive love. And most of all, they want you to know that the love they gave you, however imperfect it was always real. The angels want you to receive this truth not with sorrow, but with clarity. They want you to know that your love left a mark, not just in this person's life, but on their soul. You were never forgotten. You were never replaceable. And even though time passed, even though things may have changed, the love that was shared still lives, still breathes, still calls. Whether or not you choose to let this person back into your heart is your divine right. The angels will honor whatever choice your spirit makes. But they do want you to know that this message comes not from manipulation or desperation. It comes from a heart that has softened through time, that has awakened to its own mistakes, that is now finally ready to speak with honesty about what you truly meant to them. So breathe, dear child. Let yourself remember. Let yourself feel, but also let yourself decide from a place of empowerment. This truth does not have to reopen old wounds. Instead, it can offer closure, peace, and perhaps even a bridge, one that leads to healing, whether separately or together. You are not being asked to forget the pain or the silence. You are being invited to see the full picture, to realize that sometimes people love us in ways they don't yet know how to show, and only with time do they begin to understand what they lost. The angels are proud of how far you've come. how deeply you've loved, and how patiently you've carried your heart through uncertainty. They are by your side now, gently guiding you to trust your intuition, to honor your needs, and to remember that you are worthy of love that does not hesitate, love that does not live only in the past, but shows up fully in the now. Type faith if you trust that God is leading you step by step with love toward your highest good. Let this message be the light that softens your memories, that reminds you your love was never one-sided, even if it felt like it at times. You touch this person in ways they are only now beginning to understand. And while it may have taken them time to find their words, their heart has always known the truth. And now, finally, they are ready to speak it aloud, not just for you to hear, but for their own soul to be free. Dear child, the angels stand beside you now in sacred stillness. For the truth that is ready to be revealed is not one born of betrayal, but of slow sorrow, silent reflection, and the aching awareness that love sometimes fades not from lack of feeling, but from lack of effort when it mattered most. Your person, the one your soul has waited on, prayed for, and quietly wept over, carries within them a truth they've long tried to ignore, yet it has grown louder in their heart with every passing day. The painful truth they didn't want you to hear from someone else is that while you were patiently sowing the seeds of love, showing up again and again, nurturing the connection with your time, care, and consistency, they were not truly present in the way you deserved. They watched your effort, they felt your loyalty, they saw your heart poured into every moment, and still they hesitated, they withdrew. They promised you the future while doing little to build it in the present. And now they are finally choosing to tell you themselves because they can feel your spirit growing distant. They sense the shift in your energy, the sacred moment where your patience begins to turn into detachment, and it terrifies them more than silence ever did. They didn't want you to find out from someone else how often they doubted, delayed, or emotionally procrastinated when they should have been showing up for you with clarity and certainty. They feared that someone would tell you the obvious, that they were stalling, unsure, overly focused on what wasn't working, and slow to water the very garden you were trying so hard to nurture. And they feared that if you ever heard the truth from someone other than them, it would come without the compassion, without the emotional depth that this truth deserves. Because the truth is not that they didn't care. It's that they didn't know how to move, how to choose, how to invest their energy into something that felt so real, so meaningful, it frightened them. They were waiting, always waiting, for more clarity, for more time, for the perfect moment that never came, believing they had all the time in the world, not realizing that love grows tired when one person is always left tending the soil alone. The angels show that this is a person who overthinks, who plans endlessly in their mind, who hesitates in matters of the heart because they've learned to associate emotion with risk and commitment with loss. And so while you waited, they wondered. While you built, they analyzed. While you gave, they questioned. Not because you weren't enough, but because they didn't believe in their own ability to hold what you offered. And this imbalance, your heart moving forward while theirs stood still, is the slow truth that has finally reached its edge. They are realizing now that love cannot survive indefinitely on one person's effort alone. That you can't keep watering something that never blooms. And most painfully, they are realizing that you were never the one who lacked faith. It was they who lacked the courage to act on it. They are choosing to speak now because they can feel your hope dimming. They feel you pulling your energy back, conserving it, redirecting it toward your own healing, and they know that if they don't speak soon, the garden of this love may wither entirely. They want to tell you that they've watched you give more than they ever had the words to thank you for, that they saw your disappointment, your longing, your silent endurance, that they noticed how you began to fall quiet, how you stopped asking when things would change, how your gaze grew heavier, even when your lips still formed a smile. They were not blind to your pain, dear child. They were just afraid of owning it, because to own your pain would mean admitting they caused it. And now they're ready to tell you the truth, not with grand gestures or elaborate apologies, but with sincerity, with emotional humility, with eyes finally wide open. They want you to hear from them that they recognize how little they gave in return for all that you offered, that their waiting and thinking and endless evaluation came at the cost of a love that was already blooming. And they know it may be too late, but they are hoping, praying that the truth, spoken from their own lips, might offer some kind of healing, some kind of peace. Type, blessings. If you sense the universe aligning in your favor, surrounding your path with grace and abundance, the angels want you to receive this message with the wisdom of your soul. They want you to know that your patience was not wasted. Your love was not misplaced. Your loyalty was never invisible, even when it felt unseen. What you gave was not in vain, dear one. It helped this person grow, even if that growth came too slowly, even if they were too wrapped in fear and hesitation to meet you where you were. You taught them what it means to nurture something sacred. You showed them the beauty of consistent, intentional love. And now they are finally seeing what they could not before. That love does not flourish through delay. It needs presence. It needs action. It needs the courage to show up even when it's messy and uncertain. They are coming to you now with the truth that they should have come to you with long ago. I took too long. I made you wait while I questioned what you already knew. And I see now that love is not about perfect timing. It's about meeting the moment while it's still alive. Let this message settle in your heart not as a reopening of old wounds, but as a closing of a chapter that was never fully understood. Whether or not you choose to open the door again is your sacred choice, and the angels will walk with you either way. But know this, dear child. You were never the one who waited in vain. You were the one who stayed, who nurtured, who hoped. And in a world full of emotional hesitation, you were brave enough to love fully. Type Amen if you trust in angels' guidance. I hope you have understood the topic. What is the painful truth your person doesn't want you to hear from someone else? And why are they finally choosing to tell you themselves now? Well, in this angel message. If today's message awakened something sacred within you, may that quiet light continue to shine softly from your heart as a tender reminder of how deeply you are loved. You are never alone, dear soul. You are always held in the compassionate and steady embrace of divine grace. Even in your most delicate moments, that love surrounds you, gentle, constant, and unconditional. And if your heart feels moved to express gratitude, even through a simple super thanks, know that your loving energy becomes a ripple of light, reaching far beyond what you can see. Every act of kindness returns to you in beautiful and unexpected ways. Thank you for receiving these angelic whispers with such openness and trust. May the angels remain close, guiding your path in peace, lifting your heart with love, and holding your soul in their eternal healing embrace.